I love watching people. I love observing people. I'm so glad that people watching is like a thing now, because I don't know about you, but I remember like in the 80s and 90s, watching people or observing people is what serial killers did. Apparently now it's socially acceptable though, so it's all good. Have you ever noticed that there's like 3 phases to every new relationship, even if it's like friendship or coworkers or like, you know, your significant other? There's always the honeymoon phase where everything they do is fucking amazing. And then there's the comfort phase where you can just hang out with each other and not worry about stuff, which is also awesome. And then there comes a day where it's just like downright resentment of their existence, like at all. So you'll be like hanging out with them at first and you're like, oh my God, you're so funny. I could listen to you talk about the history of toilet paper for like 12 hours, like no problem. You get to know them a little bit better and then you're like, yeah, okay, that's nice. But you know, you've told me that before. And then you get to the point where you're like, just look at them. Could you not breathe like that, like at all, please? Then you get to a part of a relationship when you go out to eat and you're like, oh, look, food. I'm like, oh, I never eat. I might be like, you know, obese, but I literally don't eat. Like I eat maybe a little bit of salad. I'll split with you if we really have to. And then you get to know them a little bit better. You're like, yeah, let's go to that buffet. I'd like to have seconds tonight. Years later, you're hanging out. You're like, you touch my plate with your fork again, I'll stab you in the fucking dick. Like, seriously, get away from me. You first know somebody and you can't do anything around them. You don't fart. You leave the room to go fart somewhere else. You tell them about how you've never perspired in your life because you're so ladylike. You get to know them a bit better. You're like, come hang out in the toilet with me. I really need to pee, but I want to hang out. I'm bored in here. Years later, you get out of the bathroom and your husband looks at you and goes, Jesus Christ, did you have Indian without me again? Seriously? First dating my husband, he used to call me Mario Andretti. Like I drove so fast, like the police were chasing me. And sometimes they were, not always. But oh, you're so cute. The way you drive is crazy. And then a few years down the road, he's like, you know, but don't think we can really afford another speeding ticket. Can you slow that down, please? Then you get to the later stages of our relationship with kids in the backseat. And he's like, you know, it doesn't matter how fast you drive. You'll never get away from the screaming in the backseat. So just fucking slow it down there, Mario. So that. When you first know something, everything that they do just seems so precious and cool. You're like, oh, our relationship is sacred. I would never share anything that happens with anybody ever again. And then a little bit later, you're like, I talked about that thing that you did to me with your mom. It was not very cool. And now it's like, I texted 15 of my closest friends and they've all totally agreed with me. You're a fucking dick. That's my thanks, guys.
Was there more of the cat?
That's a chihuahua.
In your application, you wrote you've got the self-deprecating, angry mother suburban housewife shtick. The chihuahua completes that look. I think you should submit a bit there. If possible, bring it with you on stage.
When you were saying something about looking up at the person and the dog was like, I don't think it was an act out on purpose, but your dog acted in the actual role of your joke, which was so funny.
Great.
What I love about your set are how real all of those things are and how relatable that is to every single person. Like everything that you said, I was like, this is my life. And I think I'm breaking up with my partner soon. I'm in the last stage. Like, this is crazy. No, but I love that. And I love, like, I think that because you are probably the funniest person in your group, and I feel like you don't have to have, like, a comedy voice. Like, a lot of people have a comedy voice in a way of, like, doing things. But because this is how you actually talk, it kind of bleeds into the premise being the punchline to everything being the same. And I think that you have to remember that you're naturally funny, so you kind of have to, like, break those things up for people who don't know you as well.
Right.
But that would be my only note on that, really.
Awesome. Thank you.
I like that you were pulling from your life and relatable material. You could tell that there was stuff. What I think might like take it to the next level is there was some points where you were talking about sort of generalizations in relationships. You're like, in a relationship, this happens. If you make that more specific and you give us specific examples and you're like, listen, our relationship started like this. This was step 2. And here's crazy ass where we are now.
Right.
And really jump on that third stretch. But like by personalizing it, then you're telling us, hey, this isn't some hypothetical. These are things that are actually happening in my life, right? Like this is how I fell in love with my husband. And this is where we are now. And so people are going to relate to that, I think, a little bit more, because now I'm saying, oh yeah, that's a funny thing that could happen. Now I'm saying, oh my God, this is happening to this person on stage. So now I'm just like the weight of it is that much more.
Right.
But
Right.
I love the jokes, and just a fine tune like that would just make it connect a little bit more for the people in the audience. Like, oh my God, she's living this.